The blackness of deep space was broken only by the dim light of shattered metal fragments drifting in silence. The wreck of a small human vessel spun slowly on its axis, engines torn apart, hull burning with faint orange glow. Its distress beacon still flickered weakly, sending a silent scream no one was expected to hear inside. Captain Elias Kane sat strapped in his chair, blood running down his forehead, his chest heaving every alarm. Light flashing, red oxygen, low power gone, weapons destroyed. He knew he had only minutes left before the cold vacuum of space would take him. For long seconds nothing moved. Then the sensors on his dying console flickered one last time. A shape appeared outside. A small vessel, sleek and silver, nothing like the war machines that had attacked his ship. Its hull glowed faint blue, as if alive. The alien craft moved close. Silent and graceful, Elias squinted, trying to see through the cracked glass. His heart hammered. No raider would come back, no scavenger would risk this place. So who were they? Alien ship extended a beam of shimmering light and wrapped it around the broken human vessel, like a hand lifting fragile glass. Elias felt the ship steady itself for the first time since the attack. Gravity returned, faint and trembling. The systems hummed back to life. Air filters coughed. Power readings blinked. The alien craft was repairing his ship. He did not understand why his training screamed caution. No alien ever risked itself to save a human. Not here, not in this region of space. Humans were not welcomed. They were whispered about, feared, kept at distance, but never savaged. The beam cut through the wreckage like surgical light, clearing debris, patching holes, emergency shields rising from nowhere. It was impossible. Elias thought he was hallucinating. Blood loss, oxygen deprivation, madness. But then he heard it, a voice not in his ears but in his mind, soft, trembling words. "We're Thrin. We will not let you die." The sound was gentle, almost childlike. He tried to answer, but his throat cracked, his words broke into static. Still the alien seemed to hear him. Thrin, the name rattled in his memory. Humans had records of them, a minor species, weak, fragile bodies, dependent on trade. They had never fought a war, not once in their history. Why would they be here? Why would they save him? Elias collapsed forward, darkness pulling him into unconsciousness. As the alien light wrapped tighter, carrying him away from the battlefield, time passed. When he awoke, the room around him was strange, curved walls, glowing lines, soft lights that shifted like water. His wounds were bound. His body rested on something that felt alive. The air was thick, sweet, but breathable. Standing above him was a creature, no taller than his chest, its skin pale silver, its eyes enormous and filled with liquid light. It looked nervous yet kind. When it spoke, the voice in his mind was clearer. "Now we found you broken. We brought you aboard. Your kind bleeds quickly. We tried to stop it." "Do you, Lavilias?" stared his soldier. Instinct screaming threat, yet his tired heart whispered gratitude. He nodded slowly. "I live," he croaked. The Thrin tilted its head as if surprised. "Your kind is heavier than we imagined. Stronger. To the galaxy says many things about you. Not all are truth." Words made him uneasy. What did the galaxy say about humans? Why did it matter? But before he could ask, alarms shrieked across the alien vessel. Red light painted the soft walls. The Thrin looked terrified. "They are coming," it whispered. Who? Elias demanded, though he already knew the answer. "The raiders, the Zorith. They followed your trail. They know we saved you." Elias felt ice run through his veins. The Zorith Dominion, ruthless slavers, conquerors who ruled through terror. They were the reason his ship had burned. He knew what it meant for the Thrin. If the Zorith found them guilty of helping a human, they would not survive. The Thrin looked at him, its eyes wide with fear. "We cannot fight them. We cannot even run fast enough. We only wanted to save." Yahweh's fists clenched. The weight of realization struck him like a hammer. This small, fragile species had just signed its own death sentence by helping him. They had chosen compassion over survival. Elias tried to rise. His wounds screamed, his muscles failed. Still he pulled himself to his feet. "Humans, do not leave debts unpaid," he said, voice raw and broken. The Thrin trembled. "What will you do?" Elias stared out at the stars through the curved window, watching dark shapes gather in the distance, alien warships closing in shadows like predators. The answer formed in his heart like fire. When news of this moment spread, the galaxy would remember when the Thrin saved one human Earth, declared war for them, and the first spark of that war was about to be lit in silence among the stars. The station was alive with whispers. Shadows moved between dim lights, markets' silent halls. Traders lowered their voices as if afraid of the very air. News had spread faster than any ship a small, gentle race had done. The unthinkable, they had saved a human, one act of mercy, one decision of kindness, and the galaxy shook with fear. In a smoke-filled chamber on a world of stone, 3 alien leaders sat across a round table, their faces hidden in shadow. They were not allies, they were rivals, sworn enemies, yet in this moment they were bound by the same dread. The first one, tall and insect-like with clicking mandibles, spoke in harsh tones. The Thrin are fools. Saving a human is the same as inviting death. They have no idea what they have. Donath's second, with scaled skin and burning yellow eyes, hissed, "Lo, perhaps they do know, and perhaps they believe they can gain something from it." Third, a frail being wrapped in pale robes, shook his head. Slowly, "No, you misunderstand. It is not about gain. It is about survival. They are weak. They saw a life in danger, and they acted without thought. But they will be punished, not by us, but by those who fear the return of human wrath." A silence fell across them. The memory of old battles was not far from their minds. Every race had a story about humans, stories that were told in whispers around fires and cold nights, stories about small groups of humans standing against fleets, stories about their refusal to surrender, their endless rage, their terrifying will, none of it written in official archives, but every species remembered. Meanwhile, aboard the Thrin vessel, Elias Kane leaned against the curved wall, his body wrapped in strange bandages, energy flowing through his veins. The Thrin medic who had saved him stood nearby, eyes glowing with unease. The alien spoke softly. "You should rest, human. Your wounds are deep." Elias shook his head, voice heavy. "I need to know why you did it. Why risk your people for meth?" Thrin hesitated, then answered, "We have watched your kind from a distance. We know you are feared. We know every race tells dark stories of you. But when we saw you dying, when we saw your eyes fading, we felt something stronger than fear. We could not let you vanish into cold space." Ilias studied the small alien, his voice trembling but true. His chest tightened. Humans were soldiers of survival, trained to kill, but here was a fragile creature who had chosen compassion. His voice grew low. "You do not understand what this means." The Thrin's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Before Elias could answer, the ship shuddered. Outside the viewing window, lights of distant vessels appeared sharp like blades against the stars. Alien ships moving silently, forming a ring around the Thrin craft. The medic's voice cracked. "They have found us, the Zoroth. Their warships are here." Alarms shrieked, corridors lit in crimson. The Thrin panicked, their small voices echoing through the halls. Elias staggered toward the control room, ignoring his wounds. The commander of the vessel turned to him, face pale. "We cannot escape. Our drives are too slow, our weapons too weak. What do we do?" Elias looked at the screen, the Zoroth ships closing in, his jaw clenched. "You hide and you survive. I will speak to them." Shock spread across the Thrin, their voices filled with terror. "You cannot. They will kill you." Elias stared at the window, eyes burning. "Maybe, but they must hear me first." Walked to the cum station, forcing his shaking hands to steady himself. The channel opened, static filled the air. Then a voice, dark and cruel, cut through. "Human, you are alive. Interesting. Surrender yourself, and we may let these weaklings live. Refuse, and we will burn their world to." Ashleus's eyes narrowed, his voice calm and cold. "Your mistake? Was thinking humans ever surrender?" He shut the channel, his words hung heavy in the silent bridge. The Thrin stared at him, as if seeing not a wounded man, but a storm waiting to break. The Zoroth fleet began to advance.
Nice.
Their weapons charged, but they hesitated for the smallest of moments, because every commander knew the same truth. The galaxy feared humans. Not for their weapons, not for their size, but for their will. And here was one alone defying them. That single sight was enough to plant a seed of doubt back on the trade station. The whispers grew louder. Merchants told each other of the event. One voice said, "The Thrin saved a human. The Zoroth found them, but the human did not yield." Another voice hushed them. "Be silent. Do not even speak." Their name the humans will hear. Yofir turned to rumors, rumors into legends. Ships carried the story too. Distant systems, each retelling more terrifying than the last the humans know. The humans are combing in Earth, far away in the cradle of blue oceans and green continents. Signals reached the great city's generals. Listened to the recording's messages. Intercepted of Zorath, threats of a Thrin ship saving one of their own, and of Captain Elias Kane standing defiant against an empire. A council gathered in a room filled with light. Their decision was swift and final. No one touches a human, not one. If they do, we will Comathir. Fleets began to move, engines lighting the Void One. By one, human warships vanished into the stars, headed toward the Thrin. In the Thrin vessel, Elias felt the ship tremble, his breath ragged, yet his mind steady. He knew what was coming. The Zoroth would strike. The Thrin would fall. But somewhere out there, Earth had heard, and Earth would not stay silent, the galaxy thought. Humans were quiet, thought they were scattered, thought they were weak, but that illusion was about to end. Thrin medic whispered to him, voice shaking, we should never have saved you. We have doomed ourselves. Elias turned, eyes dark with fire. No. You saved me, and now the galaxy will pay for what it has, Doneth stars. Outside, shifted alien ships closed in, and in that moment, every race across the galaxy felt the same chill. The humans know, in the dark silence of space, a signal pulsed across. The void, a ripple of energy carrying words sharper than any blade. It was not loud, yet every listening post, every trading hub, every hidden spy relay caught it. Humans had spoken. Earth had heard. The rescue of Captain Elias Kane was no longer a secret. The Thrin had given mercy, and now the universe held its breath. In the Thrin vessel, Elias stood weak, but unbroken, his body wrapped in alien bandages. The glow of strange lights bathing his pale skin, he leaned close to the viewing window, staring. At the endless black, he could feel it like a storm moving unseen. Something was coming. He turned when the Thrin medic entered, eyes wide, voice trembling. There is news, the humans have answered. Your distress, Bakanth. Words carried weight heavy, enough to silence everyone on the bridge. The Thrin commander looked at Elias with fear and awe. What does it mean? The human exhaled slowly. It means Earth knows you've saved me, and Earth will not stay silent. In distant sectors, alien traders exchanged nervous glances. The message from Earth was short but clear. No one touches a human, not one. If they do, we will come. The words spread faster than light, repeated by smugglers, pirates, diplomats, every tongue twisting it into new shapes, yet the meaning never changed. Earth had drawn a line across the Starson, council chamber deep. Within Zorath's space, dark figures gathered, their scaled armor shining under firelight. The Dominion. Warlord slammed his clawed fist against the table, his voice thundered. The Thrin have betrayed us. They saved a human. They defied our command. The council hissed in anger, yet beneath their rage was something colder, fear. They remembered the ancient tales. The times when human fleets had fought until only wreckage remained. When humans turned planets into fortresses, when they made entire empires bleed dry. The warlord growled. They are weak. They cannot stand against us. But his eyes flickered with doubt back on the Thrin ship. Elias tried to rest, but sleep never came. Images haunted him, his crew dead, his ship shattered, the Zoroth closing in, then the Thrin faces staring at him, fragile, innocent, yet brave enough to save him. He whispered to himself, Earth is coming. Hold on. The next hours stretched like eternity. Every Thrin ship that passed carried rumors humans are mobilizing. Some said entire fleets were leaving Earth. Others whispered about secret weapons never seen before. The galaxy's smaller nations felt torn between terror and hope. For some, humans meant destruction, for others protection. One thing was certain, no one could ignore them anymore. The Thrin commander stood before Elias, voice breaking. You must understand, human. Our people are not warriors. We cannot fight the Zoroth if war comes. We will vanish. Ilias's eyes burned with quiet fire. Then you must trust that humans keep their promises. We do not forget those who help us. Ship's screen flickered suddenly. An incoming transmission filled the bridge, the face of a Zoroth. Officer, cold-scaled eyes glaring surrender. The human now, or face annihilation. Elias stepped forward, blood still crusted on his brow, his voice. Lo, steady Earth has heard your threats, and Earth does not forgive the channel. Cut silence heavier than steel filled the air. The Thrinn stared at him, not sure whether to feel hope or despair across. The galaxy-hidden listeners repeated the words, Earth does not forgive, each repetition. Louder, darker, more frightening, until the entire quadrant buzzed. With fear in Earth, the Great Council gathered in a chamber overlooking the Pacific. The ocean shimmered beneath bright sunlight, but their eyes were fixed on star maps. Lines of red light showed the paths of enemy fleets, blue lines revealed human. Warships moving to intercept. Generals spoke in clipped voices, our fleets are mobilized, within days we can reach Thrinn space. One counselor leaned forward, eyes hard. If the Zorth strike first, we must answer with full force, another added. The galaxy must learn again that harming one human means facing all of Earth in secret. Bunkers scientists prepared weapons, their hands shaking as they activated machines silent for years. They had not been used, not since the last Great War, they whispered. Among themselves, the galaxy has forgotten what humans can do now. They will remember meanwhile. The Thrinn vessel drifted at the edge of a quiet system. Elias felt the air grow heavy. Every Thrinn I turned to him, as if he carried the fate of their people. Perhaps he did. He knew Earth would come. But he also knew the Zorth would not wait. They would strike to make an example. His hand clenched, he whispered. They think fear will break us, but they are wrong then. It happened. The stars outside shifted. Streaks of light tearing through the black human ship's emerging engines. Glowing like fire wings of steel slicing space, the Thrinn gasped, voices trembling. They came. The humans came. Elias felt his chest tighten, a mix of pride and sorrow, because he knew what it meant. The war had begun to lead. Human ship transmitted a single line to the Thrinn vessel, standby. Allies are protected. A roar of emotion filled the Thrinn bridge. Some cried, some bowed, some simply stared in disbelief. For the first time in their long history, they had defenders, not because of power, not because of wealth, but because they had saved one man in Zoroth command. The warlord received the report. Human fleets have entered Thrinn space. His claws dug into the table, his voice cold. Prepare every ship. Unleash the Dominion. Let the galaxy see what happens when humans defy us. Yet even as he spoke, unease coiled in his heart. Because deep within, he remembered the legends. He remembered the whispers, no matter the odds. Humans do not break in the void between stars. To powers moved closer. Thrinn ships huddled small, fragile, beside the growing human armada. Zorth warfleets, sweeping forward like predators. Drawn to blood, in the middle stood Elias Kane, watching silent. Every breath heavy with memory and fear and fire. He knew the galaxy would never be the same again. As the first lights of war flickered across the darkness, one truth echoed across every world, every station, every hidden corner. They saved one human now. All humans declared war. Darkness filled the endless stretch of space. Broken only by the cold gleam of stars, the Thrinn ship drifted in silence, its crew whispering in fear, their small hands trembling as they clutched the railings. Captain Elias Kane stood among them, eyes fixed on the far horizon where strange shapes began to move. The enemy had arrived, the Zorth Dominion. Ships slid from the void like predators, their hulls jagged, their engines burning with blood-red light. One by one they formed a wall across the stars, their numbers far greater than anything the Thrinn could face. Thrinn commander's voice cracked. We are trapped. There is no escape, Elias said, nothing. His hands clenched tight, his body still weak from wounds, but his eyes sharp. Every instinct screamed that this was only the beginning. The Thrinn medic stepped closer, voice trembling. If they fire, we will not survive. They do not need to fire, Elias answered. They want to scare you to make you surrender. That is how the Zoroth always Bajina channel opened across the bridge. Static hissed, then a deep growl filled the air. Surrender. The human and we will let you live. Keep him and you will burn. The voice was cold, cruel, dripping with arrogance. The Thrinn crew froze, every face pale with dread. The commander looked at Elias. What do we do if we give you to them? They may leave us. Elias's reply came sharp and low. No, they will not leave you. They will enslave you. They will break your worlds. The only mistake you made was saving me, but it is also the only reason you have Hapith. Zorth Warlord watched from his flagship eyes, narrow jaw tight. The human still lived. The Thryn had dared to resist. He expected fear. He expected begging instead. The human spoke across the open channel, his voice rough, but steady. If you think humans bow, you have already lost silence, followed heavy, thick, pressing into every ship on both sides. The warlord bared his teeth, but inside a small flicker of unease. Grun planets far across the galaxy, whispers carried like fire. The Zoroth are moving. The Thryn are doomed, but there is a human among them. Merchants spoke in hushed voices, saying the same words: humans do not surrender no matter the cost. Stations filled with rumors, children hid under blankets listening to their elders say, if the Zoroth fight the humans, it will not end quickly, it will not end clean. In the Thryn vessel, tension rose, every alarm flashing, every sensor screaming. The Zorath fleet tightened their net, drawing closer, their weapons glowing ready. The commander whispered, we cannot fight, we cannot run, we cannot hide. Elias placed a hand on the console, eyes locked on the enemy. Then you must endure long enough for Earth too. Answer: because far away across the stars, human fleets had already left Earth's engines. Blazing through the void, their signal repeating for all to hear, no one touches a human, not one soldier sat in silence inside. Their steel ships' faces grim, hearts steady. They knew what waited, they knew they might not return, but none of them hesitated. They were not coming only to rescue Elias. They were coming to make a statement. The shadow of the Zoroth flagship, the warlord paced his claws, scraping metal. The human resists, he growled to his officers, his voice dark. What does Earth plan? What strength do they hide? The officers shifted uncomfortably. One whispered, there are stories, my lord, stories of battles. Long ago where humans fought until nothing remained. Stories of colonies that would rather burn than yield. The warlord silenced him with a glare. But the unease only grew back on the Thryn vessel. Elias sat with the medic. The small alien's hands shook. Why are they so afraid of you? Why are you feared? More than any other, Elias stared at the floor, voice low, because humans do not quit, we fight. When broken, we fight. When outnumbered, we fight until nothing is left. And that terrifies them, the medic whispered. But you are only one. Elias's lips curled into a bitter smile. One is enough to remind them of what waits if they push too far. Zoroth fleet shifted weapons, arming cannons glowing like suns. The Thryn screamed alarms. Blaring, the commander fell to his knees. It is over. We are finished. Elias stepped forward, standing tall against the flickering lights, his voice carrying through the bridge. No, it is not over. Not yet. If they fire on us, then every human fleet will answer, and the galaxy will burn. They know this. That is why they waited. He was right. The Zoroth warlord hesitated, claws gripping his chair, because to strike now would mean more than killing one ship. It would mean declaring war on Earth. A war he was not certain he could win. He stared at the image of the human still, standing wounded but unbroken, his voice steady, his eyes burning. It was not the strength of ships that worried him. It was the strength of Willen. The outer system's listening posts caught fragments of transmissions.
House fleets closing in, Thryn.
Ships still alive, the Zoroth. Waiting, entire colonies froze. Entire governments whispered. Is it true? Are the humans rising again? The galaxy felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for the first shot. Thryn. Medic leaned closer to Elias' voice. Almost a whisper, if they attack us, we will die. Elias looked at him, then spoke words that cut through the silence. Maybe, but if they attack us, they will also die, and that is something they cannot accept. Stars burned bright, weapons aimed, and waiting silence hung heavy enough to crush the soul and across the galaxy. The question spread like fire. Who would fire for Stelius? Placed his hand against the glass, his reflection staring back, scarred, bloodied but alive, his heartbeat steady, every muscle ready. He whispered into the silence, Earth is coming, hold the lineand. Somewhere far away, fleets of human warships tore across the black. Engines bright like fire banners of Earth, lighting the void, their commanders speaking the same words. Into the dark no one touches a human, not one galaxy trembled as the storm gathered, because the shadows of the enemy were here. The Zorath stood ready, the Thryn cowered, the humans advanced, and the next moment would decide the fate of them all. Stars seemed to freeze in silence. The Thryn vessel hung small and fragile, surrounded on every side by the vast iron jaws of the Zorath Dominion. Their warships did slowly across the void, each one armed with weapons strong enough to erase cities. The Thryn crew trembled in fear, their eyes wide, voices shaking. Their commander whispered, "It is the end. There is nothing left." Elias Kane stood in the center of the bridge, his body weak from wounds, yet his stance firm, his eyes locked on the red glow of the enemy fleet. He knew they would not wait much longer. Dosh. Zorath Warlord's voice cut through the silence once more. "Give us the human, and we will let you live. Defy us, and you will be." Ash. His words carried arrogance, but beneath them lay caution. Even he remembered the old stories. Elias leaned closer to calm his voice, low but clear. "If you think fear will save you, you do not understand humans." The channel cut. Every Thryn heart stopped beating for a moment. They waited for death, and the stars lit with fire, long trails of blue light ripping across the void. Human ships emerging one by one, engines burning bright like suns. The Thryn gasped, their voices filled with disbelief. They came. The humans came. The Zorath fleet paused, claws of steel and fire, hesitating for the smallest of moments, because the arrival of Earth ships had broken the balance. The warlord's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched. He had expected humans eventually, but not so soon, not with such force. First human warship moved forward, its hull black with silver markings, guns bristling from every side. The voice of its captain echoed across all frequencies. "This is United Terran Command to the Zorath Dominion. You will stand down or face war." The galaxy itself seemed to shiver at those words. Every listening post, every hidden station caught the signal, repeating, "No one touches a human." Not Onelius felt his chest tighten, pride surging through his pain. He turned to the Thryn. "Commander C, I told you Earth does not forget." The small alien stared in awe, tears welling in his eyes. "We are saved." Elias shook his head. "No, you are not saved yet. The Zorath will not leave without blood." And he was right. The Zorath flagship roared. Two life weapons, arming engines, glowing. The warlord shouted across the bridge, "Destroy them all, let the galaxy watch and tremble." His fleet surged forward, cannons firing beams of red tearing through space. The first battle had begun. The Thryn vessel shook violently. Alarms screamed, sparks rained from the ceiling, panic filled the crew. But the human ships did not retreat. They advanced, small groups, weaving together like dancers, every movement precise, every strike deadly. The first volley from the Terran fleet cut straight through a Zorath cruiser, tearing it apart in a flash of light. The explosion echoed across the void. The Thryn gasped in shock. They destroyed it.
Now with only one strike.
Elias gritted his teeth, his voice low. "They have not even begun." Yet the battle raged, the Zorath numbers vast, their firepower overwhelming. But the humans fought with a different weapon, their will, their unity. Every human ship moved not as individuals, but as one, their formations shifting like living machines. They used the enemy's numbers against them, drawing them into traps, striking fast, disappearing, then striking again. For every human ship lost 3 Zorath vessels. Burned. The galaxy watched in silence, stations reporting the same line. Over and over, humans fight back inside the Zorath flagship. The warlord growled in fury. "How can they fight like this? They are few. We are many." An officer whispered, fear in his eyes. "They do not fear death, my lord. They embrace it, and that is why they are dangerous." The warlord struck him down with a claw, but the words clung like poison in the Thryn vessel. Elias watched the battle unfold, his heart heavy. Every human explosion felt like a blade cutting his soul, but every Zorath loss filled him with grim satisfaction. He turned to the medic. "Do you see now? This is why they fear us, not because of our weapons, but because we do not stop." The medic stared, unable to look away, their voices trembling. It is like watching fire spread across the stars. A human commander broadcasts, his voice echoing with steel message to all Zorath forces. "This is your final chance. Retreat now, or face complete destruction." The Zorath replied with a storm of fire beams slamming into human shields' explosions. Ripping through the void, the humans answered with silence, then unleashed their fury, dozens of ships firing in unison, a wall of blue light. Tearing through the enemy line, entire sections of the Zorath fleet disintegrated in flame. The Thryn cried, "Out, some in fear, some in awe." Elias whispered, "Hold on, Earth is with Yowers." Past the battle, a storm of fire and steel, neither side yielding, the humans few but unbreakable. The Zorath, many but faltering, the warlord watched his fleet fall one ship after another, his claws digging into metal, his rage boiling, yet behind his rage was the one thing he would never admit: fear. He remembered the stories told to him. As a child, never anger a human, never wound them, for if you do, they will come for you. All of them. Thryn commander clutched the railing, his voice cracking. "They fight for us, they bleed for us. Why?" Elias answered without hesitation, "Because you saved one of us, and that means you are under our protection forever." The Thryn lowered his head, unable to speak, overcome by the weight of what those words meant. The battle reached its height. The Zorath flagship moved forward, massive guns charging, preparing a final devastating strike. The Thryn vessels shook with terror. Their commander whispered, "It is too strong, nothing can stop it." Ilias's eyes narrowed. Yes, something can. The human fleet shifted their formation, 3 ships peeling away, rushing headlong toward the massive vessel. Their captains knew they would not return, yet they did not slow. Their voices broadcast across every channel: "For Earth, for our own, for those who stand with us." The 3 ships crashed through enemy fire, smashing into the flagship. In blinding light, the explosion shattered the silence. The giant ship ripped apart in fire. The galaxy froze, millions watching across countless worlds. Silent, then voices rose, whispers turning to roars. The humans destroyed the flagship. The humans defied the dominion hope sparked where none had lived before, and the Thryn vessel silence filled the bridge. Then cheers rose, small, fragile voices filled with life. They looked to Elias with gratitude. "All tears," their commander said softly. "Your kind is fire. You bring light to darkness." Elias closed his eyes, weary, his heart heavy with the cost, but he answered firmly, "No, we are not fire. We are the storming Zorath space." The warlord survived, his ship broken, his pride shattered. He roared in fury, "The humans will pay. I will burn their worlds." But in his heart he knew something had changed, something that could never be undone, because now the galaxy had seen the truth. Humans strike back, and once they begin, they do not stop. And across the stars and stations, on planets and hidden colonies, the words spread like wildfire. They saved one human, now all humans. Declared war. The wreckage of the battle drifted across the stars, twisted metal, broken ships, silent bodies. The fire of destroyed vessels still glowed faint against the black. The Thryn ship floated among the ruins, fragile and scarred, its crew trembling as they looked out into the remains of what had just taken place. Elias Kane stood on the bridge, his body shaking from exhaustion, his eyes fixed on the endless void. He had fought battles before, but never like this. The weight of it pressed against him, every loss, every sacrifice echoing inside his chest. Thryn commander spoke softly, voice trembling. "They are gone. The Zorath retreat." Elias shook his head. "No, they are not gone. They will come back. They always come back." The commander lowered his eyes. "We cannot survive another attack. Our defenses are shattered. Our people are weak." Elias looked at him, his voice low but sharp. "Then you endure until Earth arrives. You saved me, and now my people will not abandon you." Thryn medic moved closer, his small hands clutching the edge of the console, his eyes bright with fear. "Why do they fight like this? Why do humans throw themselves into fire without hesitation?" Elias closed his eyes, images flashing of the 3 human ships that had rammed the flagship, sacrificing themselves to destroy the enemy. His voice rough, "Because we do not count the cost. We only see the reason to fight. We fight for our own, for our families, for those who stand with us. That is what makes us dangerous." Far across the galaxy, news of the battle spread in whispers and shouts. Smugglers carried tales of human ships standing against the Dominion. Traders told stories of 3 ships that gave their lives to bring down the flagship. Governor sat in silence, knowing the balance of power had shifted. Children listened wide-eyed as their elders said, "Remember." This day the humans have returned, but victory came with pain. Human fleets counted their dead names read aloud. In silence, every soldier lost remembered every ship. Destroyed honored their commanders, stood before the survivors, voices heavy. They will not stop until. Every human is ash, and we will not stop until we end them inside the Zoroth Dominion. Rage filled the warlord's chamber, his claws scraped across the stone walls, his voice a roar. They dare to resist us. He looked around at his officers' eyes, burning, but inside he felt the cold shadow of fear. He had seen it with his own eyes. Human ships, small yet unyielding human captains who did not retreat, even when doomed. He growled, "Send word to every fleet, prepare the Dominion for full war. We will crush them." Yet in his heart he knew it would not be easy. Back on the Thryn vessel, silence filled the bridge. Then small voices of thanks rose. Thryn crew, bowing their heads toward Elias, their commander, spoke, "You carry your people's fire within you, and now it protects us." Elias stared out at the stars, his voice low. "That fire costs us dearly. Do not forget what you have seen." Days passed. The wreckage cleared, human fleets regrouped, wounded ships repaired, yet every soldier knew this was only the beginning. The price of war had already been high. Families, broken soldiers, lost colonies, threatened, and more would follow, but no one spoke of surrender. No one spoke of peace. The humans carried rage in their hearts, a rage that burned brighter with every Locelius sat alone in a quiet chamber, staring at a hollow display of names. The fallen of his crew, faces he would never see again, voices he would never hear again. He whispered, "I will not fail you. Your deaths will not be forgotten." The Thryn medic entered, quietly watching him with wide eyes. "You carry so much weight," the alien said softly. Elias answered without looking up, "Every human does that. Is why we never forgive. That is why they fear using distant worlds." Alien governments argued, some saying side with the Dominion or face destruction, others whispering that, perhaps, siding with the humans was wiser. Many feared both choices for the first time in centuries. The galaxy did not know who would rise, who would fall. Human fleets continued forward, their commanders sending clear messages across the stars. "We do not seek conquest, we do not seek power. But if you strike us, if you harm our kind, we will bring war to your very doors." These words spread like fire, echoing in every corner of the galaxy. A promise and a warning. On the Zorath homeworld, the warlord prepared a speech to his people, his voice a thunder across vast chambers. "The humans are weak, they are fragile, they bleed like any other. We will crush them." The crowds roared an answer, yet behind their eyes was doubt, for even among his own people, rumors spread about the battle, about how 3 small ships had brought down a flagship, about how human fleets had stood against impossible odds in the Thryn world. Fragile cities prepared for evacuation, mothers held their children, fathers prayed that the humans would arrive in time, but whispers spread among them, to whispers of hope, words they had not spoken in generations. Perhaps we are not alone. Perhaps there is a power that will stand beside you. Celius stood once more on the bridge, his wounds still healing, his body still heavy, but his spirit unbroken. He stared into the stars, knowing the war was far from over. His voice was a whisper, yet carried to every ear on the bridge. "They struck us, they will strike again, but hear me clearly. So long as one human lives, we will never stop, and if we fall, then we fall." Fighting Thryn listened in silence. Then their commander bowed his head. "We believe you, Captain. We believe your kind will not abandon us." Elias turned to him, eyes filled with fire. "You are right. We never abandon our own band, the edges of space." Human fleets burned across the black, their engines glowing bright, their weapons ready, their soldiers silent but steady. The price of war was already heavy, but they carried it without breaking. They carried it with pride, because they knew one truth that the galaxy was slowly learning. They saved one human, now all humans declared war, and they would not stop until the war was finished. Stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting for what would come next. The silence of space broken only by the steady march of human steel, every ally, every enemy. Every child, every elder whispered the same words again and again. The humans are coming's galaxy burned with whispers, fleets moving across the dark space, merchants carrying rumors, soldiers repeating stories in hushed tones. Even children on distant colonies played games pretending to be human warriors, standing against endless enemies everywhere. One story echoed, they saved one human, and now all humans declared war. Zoreth Dominion trembled behind its walls, though their leaders shouted strength, though their warlord growled in fury, though their armies drilled in endless formations. Still the shadow a fear crawled through their cities, for never before had they faced such a foe. Humans were not the largest, not the strongest, not the most advanced, yet they fought with something no Dominion could understand. They fought with fire that never did. Elias Kane stood aboard the Thrin vessel, now repaired, but still scarred. He had become a symbol, the human saved by compassion, who now carried the rage of Earth across the stars. Alien eyes followed him everywhere. Thrin bowed when he passed, whispering prayers. Humans saluted him, calling him captain. Though his command had been lost, even other allies listened to his words as though they carried weight beyond his voice. At Dith, fleets gathered above a dead star, their shapes casting long shadows, thousands of vessels forming a circle, humans at the center, allies at the edges. The Thrin trembling but standing tall, Elias walked to the edge of the command deck and spoke his words. Carried on every channel, every signal across the great fleet. We did not ask for this war. It was brought to us when they thought we were weak, when they thought we would bow. We stand now not only for humans, but for those who showed us mercy, for those who dared to save one of us. We stand for the Thrin. We stand for every world that suffers under the Dominion. Hear me clearly. We will not stop until every chain is broken, is roared across the signals. Human voices, booming alien voices following, weaker but filled with hope. Even the fragile Thrin cried out words of courage never spoken before. The sound shook the fleet. The sound carried far enough that even Dominion spies shivered when they reported. If Zoreth warlord prepared his own answer, his claws scraping the stone throne, his voice thunder. Across his court the humans are liars. They are fragile animals who dress in armor. We will cut them apart until no star carries their name. He raised his hand, ships launched by the thousands, the Dominion moving like a storm. But even as they surged forward, doubt spread like cracks in ice, for every soldier had heard the tale of 3 human ships that destroyed a flagship, of the whispers of men and women who fought until no breath was left. The first great clash came in the shadow of a shattered moon. Human fleets met Dominion war lines. The stars themselves lit with fire beams of light burning across the dark ships, tearing apart, explosions echoing like thunder and silence. Elias stood at the command deck, watching every strike, every sacrifice, his face stone but his heart heavy, each name lost carving deeper into him. Yet his voice stayed strong, steady, unbroken. Push them back, he ordered. Do not give them a single inch. Human ships fought like wolves surrounding larger vessels, tearing them apart piece by piece. Dominion soldiers screamed in fury, but could not match the madness of humans, who rammed their own burning ships into enemy cruisers, who laughed through blood, who refused to flee even when death was certain. The Dominion had faced many enemies, but never This's. The battle raged. The Thrin ship fought at the edge, its weapons weak, its shields fragile, yet it stood with the fleet, its crew shouting through fear, their commander's voice cracking but proud. We are Thrin. We do not run. We stand with humans, and for the first time in history, Thrin blood was spilled in war, not in surrender. Dominion reeled back, wounded but not broken. Their warlord slammed his fists into the throne. Send more call. Every fleet, every soldier, every beast. We will drown them in our numbers, and the galaxy will watch as they are crushed. But far across the void messages spread to other worlds. Broken colonies, slaves chained. In silence, rebels hiding in shadows. The news arrived. Humans fight the Dominion, and they do not fall. Those words sparked fires in hidden places, fires that began to spread one by one. Other voices rose. If humans can fight, so can we. The war grew larger. With each passing day, more fleets burning, more stars echoing with thunder. Each victory paid with blood, each loss only fueling more rage. Elias felt it in his bones, every battle a piece of him, breaking yet also growing stronger. He whispered often, "In silence to the dead, I will not fail you. Your sacrifice will not be wasted." And then came the moment the Dominion had feared since the first battle. Human fleets reached their border, world's dark planets filled with chains, prisons, mines, soldiers, forcing slaves to build weapons. The skies above those worlds lit with fire as humans descended not to conquer but to free chains. Broke whips fell prisoners, raised their heads in disbelief, and saw humans standing covered in ash, weapons glowing. Eyes fierce, and heard them say, "You are free." Hope spread faster than light across the galaxy, and fear spread just as quickly through the Dominion. The warlord raged, claws dripping blood, eyes wild. He could not understand it, he could not break them. The humans should have fallen, yet they rose stronger. With every strike his voice cracked with fury. Kill them all. Erase their name. But even he began to feel the truth pressing down like weight. He had awakened something he could not conquer. Lelias stood once more on a bridge, stars stretching before him, his fleet battered, scarred but unbroken. He looked at the Thrin commander who stood beside him. Small, fragile eyes glowing with new courage, the commander whispered softly, "You carry the fire of your people, but now it burns in us." To Elias nodded his voice. "Like steel, then carry it well, because this fire will not die until the Dominion is ash, silence of space." Stretched as both sides prepared for the final storm, billions waited in fear, billions more waited in hope, and in every corner of the galaxy one story was told again and again. They saved one human now. All humans declared war, and the war was not yet dawneth. Stars themselves seemed to lean closer, waiting to see who would rise and who would fall, waiting to see if fire or shadow would rule the endless night.